Welcome to MTN. Now we're here today to talk about your state of mind when you ride a motorcycle. And you might have seen previous videos we've done on how road testers treat their rides and how they can ride every single day and not get into any trouble. And the basic crux of it is that you've got to stay calm. You can't assume that everyone's on the road is going to keep you safe. You're responsible for your own safety. But we thought for this year we would take it up a level. So today we're here with a couple of pros, Ryan and Mark. So Ryan, I can see that you work for Rapid Training now, but what used to be your day job?
Like most of the Rapid coaches, I'm an for want of a better term, police rider. I've done all their courses, mainly from a surveillance background, so covert motorcycling. I've been fortunate never to ride a marked police bike, so I've never pulled anyone for speeding. And yeah, so for the best part of a decade, just sort of riding big long shifts, high mileage on decent bikes, yeah.
Yeah. And Mark, I think your uniform slightly gives it away. What's the day job for you?
I didn't have it. So yeah, I've been flying fast jets for 20 years in the Air Force. Used to display the Typhoon and currently flying Spitfires and Hurricanes for the Battle of Britain Memorial flight. So yeah, I've had quite an enjoyable career flying aircraft of various types.
And you ride as well?
Well, indeed, yeah. I've been riding for 20 years or so, yeah, mainly sports bikes. Yeah, probably because of the jet leading to sports bikes.
So you're in a scenario where you're got to follow a suspect.
Yeah.
And you've got all that on your mind, plus you've got to deal with all the road hazards that we all have to deal with as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the team tactics, stay in covert, conflict resolution cycle, and the general ride of the motorcycle kind of becomes the most important thing.
So what's your state of mind then when you're doing a job like this?
Focused, but the focus is split between the job in hand and actually making it there. You know, if there's an event we're going to, the job is to make it there. So yeah, it's the hazards, everything going around. We've been fortunate that we can speed in posted areas through town and whatnot. You know, when you sort of ride at that sort of pace, unmarked, no blue lights, no sirens going. It takes a lot of concentration, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that traffic, especially in that scenario?
Yeah. It's fortunately all the training. You know, it does start with the training, but it is. You know, my mindset is it's almost a little bit of selfishness. It's about me. You know, I don't rely on other traffic. You know, I don't expect other people to make gaps. I will just sit there and be a little bit patient and plan, wait till that gap appears, and then I'll take it rather than force it.
But you're not just rushing through.
No. There's times it might look like that. There's times sometimes it feels like that. But when you break it down, it's all quite calculated. Yeah.
How long were you doing that for?
So I was actually on the bikes about 9 years, so just under 10 years. And I sort of worked out once I did an average of about sort of 65,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
So yeah. Most of them, and no private mileage. You know, I ended up selling all my own bikes and just sort of doing all sort of operational miles.
Yeah. What are the similarities you're saying? Because you were saying you would fly by day and then go do a track day at Cadwell by night.
Yeah, I think it's with any job that you kind of find that the differences, like riding a bike around Cadwell is more exhilarating than maybe flying a jet at 100 feet and 600 miles an hour. But what I found with displaying, say, the Typhoon is that my concentration levels would peak to a point where I'm looking at the differences rather than the actual routine of riding, similar to what Ryan was saying, that I'm trying to expand my situational awareness outside of the cockpit, out to look at the real world. So things like weather, wind, how the aircraft's performing. That was the major differences from going from routine flying to then displaying flying, that concentration level.
So you'd be in a scenario sometimes where you do the same flight all the time, like many motorcyclists who do their same route to work or their same weekend ride, but you would still prepare a lot for that duplicated flight, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I never wanted to get caught out by something that was different. So you go to different venues with different weather conditions. Even the aircraft performs differently depending on temperature and pressure of the air. So what I would do is I'd take an hour away or so, always have an hour before getting airborne just to think through what am I about to do? Because as soon as you light the burners, you get the afterburners lit, the credit's running and there isn't a time to stop and go, all right, what am I doing next? That had to be by rote, but I also then need to go, well, what am I doing in 3 maneuvers time or in 3 minutes time so I don't get caught out? So that hour beforehand of preparation was key.
Yeah. So how would you both say that what you did for a living, what you do for a living, can relate to how we all ride as, you know, everyday motorcyclists.
I mean, that thing you said there, interesting about, you know, taking that hour away is, it's great when you've got the time to do that, and I think most road cyclists, motorcyclists would, you know, certainly on your Sunday morning blast, where it's not just your daily commute to work, you would have an opportunity to mentally prepare yourself.
And how would you actually do that? How do you mentally prepare yourself before you get on?
I think most people do the same thing, check the weather, isn't it? You know, what you're going to wear, what you're going to do, you know, check the bike, you've got to have the confidence in your machine. Are you wearing the right kit for the weather? There's no point in being cold and wet, because you know, mental fatigue starts kicking in. Yeah, I'm not sure, 100% sure I have a set procedure, but it is, you know, is my stuff in the right pockets? That you know, I try and divorce everything that would put me off, just so I can concentrate on the thing I'm doing. My jeans have got like the old leg pocket on, and that's where my wallet goes. So come the winter and in my sort of rucker kit, and it doesn't have that pocket. When that wallet isn't in that pocket, when I do my check, there's something not quite right. You know, so automatically I've got to have a rethink of, right, so there's now a new place for something. So yeah, it's something as small as that. You know, considering I pay for everything on my phone, I don't really need my wallet.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, just having everything in the right place, just it's that putting everything in the right place so that snowball effect doesn't get too big. Yeah.
Then you go for like the pat down, don't you? It's like, where is everything? And then all of a sudden that becomes your world. It's like, where have I put my phone?
I mean, when we're road testing, we're always in different kit, a little dressing up box, so we can't do that as much, but I still have the same thing. When I come home in the evening, I put everything away, and then when I come to put new kit on, I walk around and so and I tap my feet. Have I got my boots? Have I got, you know, if we packing in? It's all part of the prep, isn't it?
Like the track days, you know, I'm fortunate. I chuck the bike in a van, and my biggest fear in life is driving, you know, 3 hours up the road to Cadwell and not having a glove.
Or your key.
Yeah, definitely. So there's, you know, it's almost that mental state, isn't it? You know, it's almost delayed. But even when I'm packing the van, is, you know, I start from the bottom up. I've got the boots, leathers, back protector, gloves on. You know, it's all there. The keys in, the bike's fueled. Those sort of checklists, which I'm sure probably you've written down.
Absolutely, in a book. We live and breathe off checklists. Like at every point in our preparation for flying, there is some form of checklist because someone previously has maybe forgotten something, and it could be as simple as, well, gloves, your flight plan, anything like that, or it could be something fundamental. It's like, I've actually forgotten to book into this airspace, and it's like all of a sudden what you planned for 2 hours is now meaningless. We even starting the checklist. If you can adapt it, but if you've got to adapt it with reason. So as you said, like maybe wearing different leathers, you know, 2-piece versus 1-piece, etc. So well, you still need to make sure you've got everything you need. Like the way I start the Typhoon would be completely different to how Ryan starts the Typhoon, but we'd ultimately get there.
Probably.
I can teach you.
With the crank handle.
Exactly that. But we get there to the same end state where we're at the end of the runway, ready to go, and we've achieved everything we need. But it's also knowing when you've missed something and not letting it distract you, seeing if you can kind of go back to it and pick it up again. It's very similar, but
So by the time you sat in the plane and we're sat on our motorbikes ready to go, you should be really prepared. You should have done all your thinking before and be calm, and off you go.
And then you're in your riding or flying mindset. Absolutely.
You know, familiarity, you know, breeds contempt, doesn't it? So you know, if you're a commuter at 10:07 in the morning, that blue Focus comes off the drive or comes out that junction, whatever it might be. So yeah, it's the mission is to keep that standard nice and high from the moment the wheels are rolling until they stop, not, I spent a couple of miles getting into this. Exactly. I'm sure you're the same. You can't, as soon as you're down that runway, it's go, isn't it? The thing we suffer from most is switching off towards the end of a sortie. So if you've been flying for 2-3 hours and it's been relatively high tempo, you come back and the landing phase is, let's say, it's considered to be one of the easier parts. It's like, actually, it's probably one of the most dangerous parts because you're starting to switch off, and the ground has no forgiveness for you.
Exactly.
Even for falling from this height.
Well, exactly. Indeed. So when flying in Spitfires and stuff, the element of the flying is probably the easier part. The landing it is the harder part. So it's trying to keep your mind at that level where you don't switch off, because then there's just going to be an emotional end. It's almost like, I suppose, getting ready in the morning, everyone goes through a similar routine, but for going display and flying, I'd have everything set and ready, irrespective if I had an hour or 5 minutes. I'd have my screens on the Typhoon set up exactly how I want, so I don't have to worry about that. I would find myself at the end of runway, maybe kind of just eyes closed, just thinking through what the display was going to be. It's very different to maybe riding from A to B on a known route, but there is still that time where you go, well, I'm riding at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's probably going to be more traffic. In the same way for a display, I'm displaying at this venue, it's going to be busy getting in and out. They're the things I'd have to think about.
Yeah.
And for the actual routine, it'd be like how's the jet going to perform? What do I need to anticipate? So just going through that in my mind, 2 minutes of going through a sequence made a whole world of difference. I can remember times where I was rushing and I got to the display site and I can't remember A, how I got there, and then B, I can't remember how I got back. It all just became so routine. But because I was rushing, I never had a chance to go, I haven't thought about this properly.
Yeah. And did that mindset help you when you ride motorcycle?
Yeah, indeed. I used to clean my bike before and after, and it was just that process of looking around the bike and getting ready, like even getting boots, leathers on, cleaning the visor, so I never had a distraction when I was riding. I also, when I was riding as well, same with flying, I used to give myself like 3 strikes, and so if I made a mistake, flying is set the wrong pressure on the altimeter. If I've done that, it's like, right, that's 1 mistake. By the time I've reached 3, I know that my mind's not in it.
No. Yeah.
We have it in our syllabus. I think it even says, I mean, you talk about skill fade. Skill fade's huge, isn't it? And, how long are you out of the plane before you next get in and think, it'd be days, weeks, wouldn't it? Rather than, you don't put your plane away for the winter like you would your Ducati.
Well, do you find, I suppose, if you've had a week off riding, if you go from riding every day, do you find if you've had a week off riding, 2 weeks, so you've gone away on a holiday, that actually that first ride back just it's a little bit slower, it requires a little bit more prep.
Yeah.
If I'm going straight into coaching, I make sure that I've either got a few hours to myself, or on the way, I'm leaving early to get some twists and turns and get the overtakes in to get myself up. So before I can concentrate on someone else's ride, is make sure that I'm still where I need to be. It's maybe not part of my daily sort of mental check, but certainly after time off the bike is, am I still where I need to be able to help this other person?
Definitely.
If I can't make it, then what chance have they got, sort of thing. So,
I mean, even when you watch racing, the guys on their Friday morning practice aren't as fast as they are.
Of course.
Even the Rosses and the Marquezes in the world. Everyone needs to build up to it, don't they?
Yeah. For us, we're not allowed to go off and do really high-end sorties if we haven't flown for a certain period of time. So we have what we call a currency, and we build up to it. But everyone thinks they can get into the jet and absolutely nail it. I've had 3 weeks off. I'm going to go off and I'm going to be part of an 8-ship formation fighting 16 other aircraft. And you come back, it's like, I can't remember what just happened. I was maxed throughout the whole time. Yeah. It's like, should you have just gone off with a pair of aircraft and nailed the basics first? Yeah. It makes such a difference.
Yeah. Having the fundamentals just nailed in all aspects, riding the bike as well is huge. It's I use the term a lot in the coach. There's only go, stop, turn left, turn right, but it's how well we do those things and how well in advance we plan those things is what makes the difference. You've just spent winter driving your 1.9 turbo diesel Golf. It isn't the same as Yeah, definitely. That horizon starts to come at you pretty quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Not as quick, but it does come at you.
It's core fundamentals, isn't it? Yeah. Or there was an old instructor of mine who used to call it world-class basics. It's like, get that absolutely nailed and the rest will follow. Yeah.
I think one thing we've covered before in previous videos is when you're dealing with other traffic is looking out for hazards, because although people have accidents, most of them are probably avoidable, because even though someone might have pulled out on you and it's technically their fault, you should have seen them from miles back and anticipate what they're doing.
Interpretation's a huge thing. Everybody, anybody who's done any advanced training, they would have been told, you need to raise your vision, you need to raise your vision, a classic, all through my car courses. But it's the interpretation, it's all well and good seeing it, but asking a question, so what does it mean to me?
Yeah.
And doing something about it here, rather than, I've been myself, I had a head on with a van years ago, not work related. And I think now if I'd had the training, at absolute minimum, it would have been a slower impact. But yeah, it's the interpretation, I think, it's one thing seeing it, but what does it mean to you and your ride now?
Yeah, we call it situational awareness. So trying to expand our situational awareness, similar to, it's like anticipation. So if you can predict something's going to be happening in the future, then you can react to it early, or at least set your mind ready for it. So for us, you soon realise you have a finite amount of capacity. Same for riding as well, where you go, I'm all in. My bucket is full.
That's it.
But how do we get around that? So we expand our situational awareness. We prioritise.
Yeah.
So I don't need to be thinking about my fuel if my tank is full and I'm only doing 10 miles. But I do need to be thinking about my fuel if I've got 100 miles to go and it's on empty.
Yeah.
And so prioritisation comes into it an awful lot as well.
What are the hazards for you when you're flying? I mean, obviously you haven't got too much traffic up there, but
Yeah, so the hazards for displaying flying is probably the physical hazard. So it's the body reacts really quite differently to what you'd expect. You get really, really tired. And you'll see on some videos where my breathing is massive, like it's like I've run a marathon. So what I found with Typhoon flying, especially in display, is being able to balance that physical pressure, the fatigue. So by the end of the 7 minutes, I'm all in, but I need to get to the end of the 7 minutes. I don't want to peak after 5 and then just find a cliff edge.
yeah. Taking breaks on a bike and not riding tired is being hydrated.
And yeah, they're the classics. Those, like when you're saying about giving yourself those 3 strikes, is you know, we've got the opportunity on a bike to be able to pull over, and it doesn't have to be anywhere special, but just to get off the bike and proper get off the bike, helmet off. You know, almost start that sort of hours prep or those 5 minutes prep before, sort of almost restart that and get yourself back in the game properly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we always say when we're riding, the big difference between road testing and an everyday rider is that we ride every day, so you don't have that kind of pent up excitement or aggression when you get on the bike, and it doesn't matter. You know, if someone's faster than you, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, probably not what you do. You've got to stay with the pack, haven't you? You can't say, oh, it doesn't matter if he goes off. But you know, for you, it's an exciting job, but you don't go into it all giddy and excited. So I'm going to fly a fighter pilot jet today.
No,
you know?
true. But you bring out a good point. Like staying with the pack, or like as we call it, sticking with the plan. It's when you deviate from that plan. It's when you go, well, I thought I was just going to have an easy ride or an easy flight, and you decide to, open the taps when you're not ready for it. So sticking with a plan makes a massive difference for us for flying, definitely.
So to sum up then, if you wanted to translate what you do to the everyday rider, if there was one big tip you'd give them, I mean, for me, it would be, don't rush, take your time. Yeah. But what about you guys?
For me, it is that ride your own ride. No matter what else is going on out there, no matter what's going on at home, it's like be in the moment and ride the ride for what it is. There's that classic line, you should never ride above 80% of your ability, but that's today's ability. If you're feeling under the weather, you've had an argument with your partner at home, then it's today's ability, not as good as you were. Yeah. People who are getting their bike out after winter, they're probably not as good today as they were in August last year. So it's be in the moment and ride your own ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it'd be prioritisation. It's a massive thing, because you can't exceed your capacity limit. But just to prioritise the then and now, and think slightly ahead. That's what we do for flyers. How we teach our fighter pilots is that prioritisation of the event and what's coming up, rather than dwelling on something that you can't change. Yeah. It's in the past now. I'm not going to let that affect me. Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that no one's a natural motorcyclist. I think I had to put quite a bit of effort into it.
Definitely, 100%.
Nobody was born to ride a motorcycle. Those awesome racers, they got early exposure, great coaching, and
hours and hours.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the coach, not just the hours riding, but someone helping you be better. Yeah. The amount of effort I had to put in myself mentally was I think quite a thing. I sometimes see other riders, some of the guys I coach with, and they make it look easy, and sometimes I don't feel like it's easy. It's just knowing yourself as well.
That's a good point. Because you've got a lot of weekend riders who just go out for 2 hours on a Sunday morning and don't do anything else.
Yeah. There's only so many miles you can fit in a week then, isn't there?
Yeah. Do you find that, so for flying, definitely for display flying, I find that the mistake that you realise in the moment probably occurred, the genesis of it occurred 3 or 4 manoeuvres beforehand, which probably is, can equate it to riding, that the corner that you feel that was bad actually started 3 or 4 corners before. And it's so when I've been instructing new display pilots, it's trying to get into that mentality. It's like, right, try and think how the error started and how you can fix it before it becomes a problem. And definitely for this year, it's the individual who's been learning how to display the Typhoon has really picked on that quickly, and therefore it opens up so much more opportunity to get them better at flying the aircraft.
That prioritisation, that interpretation, it's the closest hazard always isn't the biggest one. You know, if you've got a couple of nice open bends and a tight one, you might sacrifice something, whether it be speed, position. You might sacrifice something on the way to the big event that's coming. Just so, like say, you're saving a bit of capacity for that one. And you know, in all honesty, you know, when most of my coaches' reports come the team's reports come through me, and you know, it's very rare one that doesn't say a couple mile an hour off into the bend. A lot of, you know, we all have our thing in certainly amongst the rapid coaches, and mine is time. You know, I don't like to talk about it in distance from the car ahead, the vehicle ahead. Is that we're all riding relatively powerful bikes. Even what we would refer to now as a not very powerful bike is still 100 horsepower. You know, it's got a lot. We don't actually need to be up the chuff of the vehicle in front, so we can overtake from, you know, the only a full brakes
only
of 2
he
seconds.
can overtake faster.
Yeah, definitely. But we can, you know, if you're reading the road properly and interpreting properly, you don't need to be up the chuff, you know, because you start sacrificing view and just making it harder for yourself.
That's right.
So relating from riding professionally at short notice, high mileage, it is, you know, for every rider, his state of mind is huge, you know, and just having an awareness of what your state of mind is and what it takes to put your mind where it needs to be, your on switch, would be an advantage to every rider.
Well, thanks, guys. That's really interesting. I could speak to you two all day.
No worries.
And well, I hope you found it interesting as well. State of mind is so important, and I hope that what you've heard today from these pros will help you when you're out on the road as well.
BikeAtech, a range of performance parts for bikers. Introducing our high-grade chromium universal ball joint. Every piece a one-off, built for life from the finest chromium alloy. Bespoke fitted, which makes it perfect for reconnecting femurs to damaged hip joints. These are parts we don't want you to have, because bikes repair easier than bikers. See the range at bikeatechshop.co.uk.